Hi, I'm Ernie.
And I'm Ben.
And this is Budget Nerds.
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it, how you wanna.
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Friends, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're talking about starting YNAB at any time. It does not matter when you start. It can be the middle of the month. It can be the second of the month. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's definitely a vibe where people are like, oh yeah, I'd like to start YNAB, but it's got to be on the first. It's got to be right there on the first of the month. And then I feel like people miss it. And then they're like, oh, I got to wait till the next first of the month. And I think there's a lot of reasons that's the perception. But yeah, we're here to break that today and give you some actual reasons why we've thought about this.
So let's get right into what those reasons are. And these aren't necessarily the only reasons that folks wait to start YNAB, but I think they're the big ones.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of riff here, and folks listening and watching the show, fill in the gaps in the comments. We'd love to hear from you about this topic. So the first reason that I thought of, and this is the one that I hear all of the time, is people want to wait because they want that clean start. They want to start on the 1st of January or the 1st of the month, or they want to wait until their next paycheck, or maybe they want to wait until their credit card statement closes. I've heard that one a couple times. And my guess is, I get the sense that these folks are the perfectionists.
Right. It needs to be like a pretty picture, right?
Yes, they want their spending plan wrapped up in this nice, really pretty bow. They want to capture all of their spending for a particular month or maybe a particular year. And I get that because I definitely have perfectionistic tendencies, but you're just missing out on so much by waiting to start until those times.
Yeah. I've even seen people like they might actually start in the middle of the month, but then they like go back and add in past transactions.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then they have a problem because their starting balance is wrong and it like causes more, but they want to get to the first of the month or the next paycheck or whatever, arbitrary date is their technical start, but not their actual start. Right. And it just causes a lot of problems. I just start today and go from today. Right.
Completely. And that's a question that I get all the time in workshops. People are like, hey, it's the second week here. Should I bring in my previous transactions from beginning of the month? And I'm always like, or they'll ask something like, is it worth it?
Right.
And I just say emphatically, no. It is not worth your time because you have to categorize all those transactions. You have to adjust the starting balance date.
Yeah, while you're learning a new system and a new way of thinking about money and everything at the same time.
Right.
I think a lot of people think YNAB is, and it is about this, but it's not just about this. They think YNAB is about the tracking and about like having a pretty idea of your average spending and things like that. But that's not really what it's about, right? It's more about projecting the future, right?
Right. Like I have to let this system know that I paid my mortgage on the 1st of the month. So I started on the 5th of the month. How do I do that? But
right.
Yes, there is a tracking component to YNAB, but it is not the focus.
Yeah. And here's the deal. No matter what you do, even if you do manage to start right on the 1st of the month and you have this pretty picture with the spending, your first month in YNAB is always kind of weird, right? Especially
completely.
Particularly if you come in with savings. If you have any savings at all, or especially if you have a lot of savings, like YNAB says, hey, take it all. Give it all a job, right? So you might have, like, say you have like 30 grand for an emergency fund and you bring it in. Like your first month will have like 30 grand in an emergency fund category, right? And that's weird. Like that's never going to happen again unless you have some big windfall, like a gigantic windfall where you're going to have like a huge chunk of money. Or maybe it's a smaller amount. Maybe it's just like, I don't know, like $200 in that category, and then never again are you going to have that much. So the first month is always kind of awkward and weird, which is unfortunate because I think it makes it kind of makes the learning curve a little bit higher because we're like, okay, yeah, your first month is going to be weird. Next month's going to be a little more normal, so it kind of takes a little while to get to the normal cadence of things anyway.
Yeah, because you're developing this new rhythm, this new practice of giving jobs to your dollars, and that does feel really weird and awkward. And I it felt like guessing. I remember the first time that I did it, and a lot of times I was guessing. I would end up under-assigning to certain categories or over-assigning in other categories. And so it's just a lot of rolling with the punches, man, for those first few months, even probably first few years.
Yeah. And for the people that are really worried about reports, what I often tell people is you can just exclude the first month in your reports. If your first month is weird because you started in the middle, like just get rid of it. Just in the filters in your report, just like remove that month. That's what I always do when I'm looking at like a net worth chart, because it's like, my new budget started, like it technically started on like the 31st of this month. And then, so like the reports always has like this like zero amount here, and then it goes up and then it goes over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the shape is weird, so I just exclude that first month anyway.
Yep.
So a lot of the like super practical things like that can be mitigated by filtering or just like don't even worry about it. Like it's not about it,
It's just it's not the point. The data, the reports, not the point of using YNAB. The whole point is that awareness of what your money's doing, that intention. Every dollar has a very specific job. And again, that's a new way of thinking about money. So I get it that people kind of want to hold on to these, I'll call them traditional budgeting ideas. It does take a while, but really, really want to encourage folks, just try to let go of that perfectionism. This idea that it just has to be really tidy, pretty, that bow wrapped on top.
And if you are starting in the middle of the month, or you're helping somebody who's starting in the middle of the month, there's going to be a temptation for them to be like, oh, I got to put the numbers in for these bills that have already passed, right? And so I think always it goes back to that question: what does this money need to do before I get paid again, right? The reality question, right? That is absolutely core, especially when you first start, because it can be kind of overwhelming when you're kind of doing almost what we're doing right now with the podcast. You're like thinking about, like, you're living in now, but you got to think about the future, and like when you're referring to things,
Yeah, totally.
So like if you're starting and you're like, well, I already paid my mortgage, but there's a line item there in my budget. I got to put something in there. I think that a lot of people think that. It's like, no, I just ask yourself, what does this money need to do before I get paid again? Look at the money you have. What does it need to do before I get paid again? And if it doesn't need to pay a mortgage this month, or if it doesn't need to pay the water bill this month because you've already paid it, just don't put any money there. Put it in next month instead, or wait until next month to put it in there, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's fine. I know it feels weird, but don't worry about it, right?
And this other thought just popped up, since the focus isn't on the tracking, it's not on the reporting, it's looking at what you have available moving forward. I think over time, people get used to that. They get used to, okay, I just need to focus on what is available. So it's okay, going back to that mortgage example, I already paid the mortgage. I started 2 weeks after that. It's okay that there's $0 available in that mortgage category right now, or that there's no activity showing in it, because I'm just looking forward. But yeah, that's a new rhythm. That's a new way of thinking about money, and it does take a little bit of time.
Yeah. So the clean start idea is, I think that is the stated reason why people wait. They're like, oh, I got to wait till the next paycheck or the first of the month, or the, goodness gracious, the credit card statement dates, which is like, oh,
I get
gosh.
that one, right? There are people who they spend 99% of their money using their credit card.
I know, it makes sense. It's just like, oh man, You know me. Credit cards complicate everything, not just for YNAB, but for all of our lives. And it just makes me, bleh. All right.
They do.
Anyway,
but save
gross.
that rant. That's another episode.
Okay. But I think that's like, and often that actually is the reason, but I think often it's the stated reason, but there's also other reasons behind it why people wait to start. Like they've already decided to start YNAB, but they're waiting for something. And I think the next one is they're just feeling overwhelmed. Like they want to start, but it's a lot of work to start, you know?
It is. It's overwhelming to change, to even think about changing.
Well, it's new habits. I mean, I think about this all the time when I want to like change my eating habits. You know, it's like you're like the diet starts on Monday, right? You know what I mean? Like that's such a human tendency.
Yeah.
But it's not just because of like, it's not even about restriction. It's about like, I just want to like ignore it right now because it feels easier in the moment. But in the back of your mind, you know, it's actually just going to cause more overwhelm, and you know that, and that causes more overwhelm. Yeah. So I think it's just getting over the hump of actually starting that is a struggle.
Yeah. I've felt this in so many different areas of my life. You know, there are those few people who they're your classic budget nerd, right? Like they love the spreadsheets, they love the numbers. And so they're just, you know, they can't wait to get started in YNAB because that kind of stuff is fun to them. But for the other folks, right, it really can be overwhelming. And our suggestion is you can just keep things super simple in YNAB. And that can be hard to do. I get it because YNAB has a lot of bells and whistles, right? There's a lot of buttons that you can push. I mean,
you got targets, you got auto assign.
Oh my
right?
goodness, right? I mean, there are
reports
times
and reflections, and I mean, it's all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, there are times where I'm going through the getting started workshop. Like this is YNAB 101, and I'm like, whoa, this is actually a lot. I get it why people feel overwhelmed. And so to those folks that write over and they're like, hey, this is just too much. Hey, here's a stripped down version of what you can do. I mean, all it comes down to is taking the money you have and giving jobs to those dollars.
Yeah.
Right. You could do this on the back of a napkin. Open up your phone right now. Look at your banking app. How much money do you have in your checking account? Write down, here's what that money needs to do before I'm paid again.
Yeah.
And you got a spending plan. It's it takes 2 minutes.
Yeah, if you want to forget about targets for a little while, I mean, I think they're really useful and they open up a lot of other features later on. But like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like just throw them out the window and just say, okay, here's like the very core of YNAB is get money, give the money jobs, follow the plan, and then do it again. And you do that for the rest of your life. That's all it is.
Yep.
Right? And it's a cycle. You get money, you give it a job, follow the plan, get money, give it a job, follow the plan. And that's really all it is. It comes right back to that reality question. What does this money need to do before I get paid again? That's all you need to do.
All you need to do
to make YNAB work. That's literally it.
And then
now all the other stuff is great.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
And then as time goes on, you just naturally start becoming more efficient in how you give jobs to those dollars. So that's where targets come in and reconciling, right? Because you want to make sure you're being exact, dealing with the exact amount of money, the real amount of money. All those other features come in eventually. Don't rush them.
The nerdiness will come.
The nerdiness will come. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed and if you find yourself putting it off, or maybe it's more like you haven't used YNAB in a while and you're like, I want to come back to it, but you keep putting it off because you feel like it's just going to be so much. I mean, a fresh start's there. Please use it. Please. I'd rather you do a fresh start and just keep going,
Yeah.
But also, if you need to just let go of some things because you're like, oh man, I got to change these targets. I got to figure out how much I'm doing. Like, just let go of it. Just do that core path.
Yep.
Get money, give it a job, follow the plan. That's all you got to do.
And maybe it's a little scary working with your actual bank balance in YNAB. So start a practice budget. Click on the name of your budget, new budget, make a checking account, put $100 in there. And then just like 3 categories. Give jobs to those $100 and just kind of see what that, establish that relationship between the accounts and the categories. See that flow of money. Here's the dollars I have. Here's what they do once I allocate them to those categories.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, like, maybe in onboarding, that would be interesting if it was like a sandbox budget that didn't have any of your actual money. Because YNAB is very simple. It gets complicated when you start bringing in all the accounts, and the real life stuff, because people's financial lives are actually pretty complex sometimes. Because of credit cards, but
there we go.
And stop me. No, yeah. But it'd be interesting, maybe if you just like had a little sandbox with like some simple numbers to kind of play around with it and get the concept. That could be a good way to figure it out.
I heard of someone who, when teaching YNAB to other people, they would work with only $1.
Oh, interesting.
And just to show the flow of just that $1, right? Making it as simple as possible. Just tracking that $1 all the way through, from the accounts to the categories, and as you spend it.
Yeah. What happens to it? Yeah. Ooh, I like that idea. There's some content there. Write it down. All right. But what's another reason that I think people just wait and don't start?
I have a hunch that people are avoiding something.
Oh, okay.
They're
Say more about that.
avoiding the perceived restriction, right? I don't want to change the way I've spending my money or my lifestyle. They are avoiding change. I mean, there's a million different things that they could be avoiding by starting YNAB, and those are all legit. Like, I get it.
There's so much baggage, man.
So much baggage.
I so get this. Yeah. I see this in my own life all the time, where it's just like, I know if I avoid this, it's going to make it worse. But like in the moment, it's kind of like choosing your current self. Like when I mean say current self, I mean like right now, like this second, instead of doing something for your future self. And in the moment, it just feels it's just so much easier just to let it go. But it's always in the back of your mind. It's just a lie. It's not going to make it easier. And then this idea of restriction is just not true.
No,
it's just false. I mean, unless you're like, I guess you could make an argument that sometimes it is true if you're like, I really, really want to go after something really exciting and really big. And in order to do that, I'm going to need to cut back on something that I like in the moment. You know what I mean? So it can sometimes be true, but like in general, it's just not about, YNABing is just not about restricting yourself. It's just about spending more intentionally in the way that you actually want to spend, right? And about bringing more joy, not less.
Right. And it's about getting that awareness, that intention, that control with your money. Like, there's only good things that you can gain by using YNAB. And, if you want to prove this to yourself, maybe the first thing you do is create a fun money category.
Nice.
Right off the bat, like, I get to spend these dollars guilt-free.
Yeah, that's the first thing you find. Like,
right.
People say, like, pay yourself first, like,
with
save
fun.
money first. No, just fun first. Do that. Eat the icing off the cake first. Put money in the fun if that's important to you. Like, do it. And make sure that it's protected, and then go with the rest. Make sure that you can like eat, please. But maybe I don't need to tell you guys that. Like, you know what to do. That's the thing is like. I never feel any pressure in all the content we make and all the talking about this we make. I never feel any pressure to tell anybody like, hey, be sure that you take care of yourself and stuff. Because like, if people are paying attention to their spending, they're going to make good choices. Like the vast majority of the time, So I never worry about it. Go ahead and give yourself some fun money right off the bat, just to prove to yourself that this is good. And then maybe even go spend it. To prove to yourself, like, not only can I allocate the money, but I can actually spend it and feel good about it too. That's huge.
And I think there's also this, we've already touched on this a little bit about this perceived idea that, you have to have restriction, but like not just taking away the fun stuff, but I have to like become frugal then in all areas, right? I have to become frugal with, the gas. Thinking about the silly episode we did just a little bit ago, where I do these crazy things to save money on, gasoline and things like that, or have to be frugal at the grocery store. And it's not about that. Like, it is not. Frugality motivates some people that use YNAB, absolutely, but not everyone.
Yeah, and didn't Jesse just do an episode on the podcast about how he is not a frugal person, and he never has been?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, like I feel the same way. I identify with that. Like, I do not believe in frugality for the sake of frugality. Now, if I'm going after something really important to me, and I can find ways to save money on other places in order to go after that, then that's great. But never for the sake of it. But other people are wired different. They're like, they enjoy that, or they have values that are different, where it's like, if I can save money, I'm going to do it no matter what. That's okay. Too. But I don't want you going after frugality just for its own sake. Go after it because you want to. That's fine
And
too.
you don't have to become a frugal person when you start using YNAB. Again, not about that restriction piece. I'm not asking you to give up all these different things in your life. It's just aligning that money with the priorities.
Yeah, you will become a nerd, but you don't have to become a frugal nerd person. That's how it is. Yeah. So don't wait for the first of the month. Don't wait for Monday. I mean, all these dates are made up anyway, right?
Wait, you just dropped that on us in 2024 that the budget is made up. Now you're telling us dates are made up?
Everything's made up, Ernie. Nothing is real. The art is life is a lie. It's all an illusion. We live in a simulation. No, like, it's true. Like, why should a number on a calendar tell you when you can or can't change your life? Like, it's so silly. I mean, it's, if I say like, oh, well, it's the 20th and I need to wait till the 1st to start doing something to make myself happier. Like, why? Just do it now. I had this happen. It's funny because I didn't make that choice. My wife and I were talking about like what we're going to get for dinner. Last Friday, and like that week, it was Thanksgiving week. I had eaten poorly and not followed my plan. There's so much candy and pies and stuff around. Anyways, it's still Halloween candy, and then there's like more stuff. It's just like, ugh, yeah, okay. And I'm trying not to do that, right? So we were talking about what we're gonna get for dinner, and I was like, oh man, I've eaten so poorly. I was like, but on Monday I'm gonna get it. We're gonna get back. Or I said like tomorrow I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna start focusing more and eating salads and stuff. And my wife's like, you know what? Let's not start tomorrow. Let's do it now. Like, we don't have to get takeout tonight. And I was like, well, no, that's not what I meant. But I think it's healthy, a somewhat healthier takeout option. So that's fine. But yeah, I see this happen all the time where it's like, we make these arbitrary dates. And I think because of the nature of YNAB, I think sometimes that is legitimately the reason why people are waiting, because they want this like perfectionist clean start. But I think more often, if you look inside yourself, it's actually a completely arbitrary reason you're giving. And the real reason is that you're avoiding something, or you're feeling overwhelmed and you need to deal with that and the emotional problem, instead of the arbitrary dates that aren't real. Because like you look at like a squirrel, it doesn't know what date it is. It's just another day, right? So like, I don't know. It's all fake. Don't live your life based on that. Live your life based on what you need to do for yourself. Anyways,
you've given me some stuff to think about, Ben. That's for sure.
I just say words. It's all, yeah. Hopefully, I didn't cause any existential crisis or anybody, but so everything's made up. Nothing's real. But it's all useful. Dates are actually useful, but not when they hold you back. Same thing with your budget. It's useful, but not when it holds you back from what you actually want.
I mean, honestly, when things are really stressful and I'm feeling overwhelmed, even when I'm in YNAB looking at some things, I will tell myself, something similar to what you're saying here. I'll be like, you know what? This really, at the end of the day, doesn't matter. It's almost like I'm admitting myself that, yes, this stuff is all kind of made up, and I do it to make myself feel better or feel like I'm actually in control of things. And it just allows me to let go of that situation and what I'm feeling a little bit, and then move on and then come back the next day, try again.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to say about this? It's a bit of a shorter episode, I think, but you have some wins that you selected that are related to this topic.
Well, they're
right?
wins to kind of kick us off for the new year. I want people to feel inspired as they get started for the first time with YNAB, or maybe they're restarting their old budget, whatever the case. We got some wins for you.
All right. Well, since it's a shorter topic, let's do some extra wins this time. All right. I have the first one, and this one's a comment. I feel like, we have way more emails than comments because people tend to send their wins over on email. So I'm always delighted when I see a comment. This is from Might and Magic 88, who typed in a comment on the cash accounts episode way back in the day. That was a fun episode. All right. They said, a couple days ago, my water heater burst. It burst? Like it blew
That is
up?
honestly an irrational fear that I have.
Is that a thing that can happen?
I mean, you've heard of them like going through stories of the house and out the roof.
Just like, wait, like exploding upwards,
I
like a
think
rocket?
that's made up. But yes, I've heard of that.
I guess there's a lot of pressure. Oh no, my water heater is kind of old. I've lived in this house since, 2015. Almost 10 years. I have not changed the water heater since in all that time, and who knows how long it was before. Is my water heater about to blow up? Okay, anyways, all right. Let's focus back. A couple days ago, my water heater burst, and I currently have just enough money in my appliances category to buy a new one outright without worry. Hey, way to go for you having an appliances category and also funding it. I can't say the same myself. Actually, that's not true. I started adding money to my appliances category. How much do I have right now? I'm going to look it up. Do you mind?
No.
Hang on. Give me a second.
This has been an ongoing topic on Budget Nerds. Ben's
YNAB
appliance
loading.
category.
Oh, the possibilities. Loading the confetti cannon. I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? Okay. Those are the loading messages. Okay. Looking at my irregular appliances. Appliances has $100 in it right now. So that's an accomplishment for me. I have money in my appliance category. So when my water heater blows up, imminently, apparently,
it's not going to blow up.
It's not going to blow up. It's going to be fine. All right. The word burst scared me. Okay.
Yes.
Moving on to Tim, who wrote in an email and said, money has always stressed me out, and discovering YNAB 3 years ago has definitely helped reduce that stress. One spot I still struggle is giving myself permission to spend money on fun things that aren't budgeted for. My personal fun money category has finally allowed me to do that. My wife and I each have a fun category. We put $30 toward each month. I never spend mine, and between birthday money and my monthly amount, the money has added up. Okay, this is fun. I can't believe you don't spend it. Last week, the PlayStation 5 Spider-Man 2 bundle was on sale. Great game if you haven't played it. And I knew I had wanted this for a long time. Looking at my fun money, I realized this purchase was a perfect use of that category. I impulse bought the PS5, much to the excitement of my wife. She was proud of me for giving myself permission to have fun and not be stressed. Added benefit is she loves playing the game as well. Thank you all for your inspiration and help in helping me to relieve a little stress in my life. Hey, good for you, Tim. I love that. Just making the choice to have a little fun.
I love it.
Yeah, some of those categories, it's like you're giving yourself a little gift, like if you forget about it for a little while, and you just kind of fund it, and then you look at it and you're like, hey, I can buy a PS5. That's cool.
Yep.
Pretty fun. All right.
My first win comes from Sarah. Sarah emailed us a number of months ago. In the summer of 2022, my husband and I decided on a whim that we were tired of the Texas heat and wanted to move to Washington to be near mountains and forests and cooler weather. Neither of us had ever lived outside of our hometown before, and we were no strangers to the paycheck-to-paycheck life before YNAB, so we assumed it wouldn't be possible. But we made it happen in the summer of 2023. We saved up enough to pack everything we owned into our car and drove for 5 days across the country to our new apartment, staying in motels and eating whatever fast food we wanted along the way. We got to try In-N-Out for the first time.
There you go.
Love it.
They don't have that in Texas, at least not when I lived there back in the day.
When we finally made it to our new, very empty apartment, we had leftover money that we used to explore Seattle and buy new furniture and household items. Best savings category we ever had in YNAB. And then there's a whole bunch of hearts. We had a pipe dream and made it happen, and never have been more happier. All thanks to that little category I called The Mountains Are Calling and I Must Go. Love it. Now we can see mountains from our apartment window, and we saw okras for the first time as well. I got to see my first waterfall last week. YNAB has changed our lives.
I love it. I think they said orcas, not okra.
Oh,
Orcas are very different from okra.
sorry, Sarah. Orcas. Thanks for catching that, Ben.
Hey, was this like a commercial for the Pacific Northwest? I think it was.
Yeah.
There you go. How cool. Oh man, that's so awesome. Like I love like they never left their hometown. They just woke up and they're like, we want to move to Washington.
Yeah.
I love that.
And, probably thought this could never happen. I think they might even said that.
Right. Yeah, that's what they said. They said they assumed it would be impossible. Right.
And that's what I love about YNAB is once you start it and the awareness comes, then the intention follows, and you're like, oh my goodness, so much more is possible than I ever thought.
Mm-hmm. So many people are like, they say, we assumed it wouldn't be possible, and then they stop right there. But if you have a framework for figuring out if it's possible, you can figure out if it's possible. It's so cool.
Okay, my next win is a comment from the Find the Money First episode. It's a new month, and I just got paid. I've been eyeing these super cool markers for drawing, but they are a little pricey. In the old days, I wouldn't have thought twice about spending the money. I just got paid. But with YNAB, I funded my categories, including some modest savings goals first. After looking everything over to find the money first, I found that none of the categories were less important than the new markers. So I'm putting the markers in my wish farm. Shout out to Heard It From Hannah. And we will be working towards funding them over time. I absolutely cannot express how significantly YNAB has improved my life. Thanks for everything you do.
Okay, the other side of the equation here. I love this. Yeah, this is great because it's like before you would have spent it and then found out later that, oh no, that was a mistake, right? And now you can make a plan to get it with safely without having to worry about it, right?
And there is a little bit of restriction here, but it's a no, not never. It's just later, right? Because there's other priorities.
Well, and it's not like restriction for restriction's sake. It's not like this arbitrary, I'm restricting myself because I got to save money because I'm an adult. It's actually, I have very solid reasons why. It's like a gentle parent, It's like I'm going to explain why I'm saying no. You know what I mean? And, unlike children, this person was able to accept it. So there you go. Love it.
All right, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. For those of you that are on the fence about starting or restarting YNAB, hope you jump in right now, today. And for those of you that want to share a YNAB win, leave it in the comments section. Otherwise, email us directly, budgetnerds@ynab.com.
All right. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
All right, friends. Happy YNABing. See you later.